Hey.
Hey.
Who are you?
Me? I'm James.
Yeah, but really, who are you? Do you ever ask yourself that question?
Yeah, well, I mean, not really, no. I am James Willems. I have a driver's license. I could show it to you if you want to see who I am. It's proof. What's the punchline?
There is no punchline. I didn't have time to think of a bit.
Oh.
But I figured that asking the question, who am I? Who are we? It's kind of who is a Muppet kind of defines this week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. You can take that.
Oh.
Hang on. Okay, there
Okay.
you go.
All right.
This show is about celebrating Muppets. But I noticed that some people are sticklebutts.
Uh-oh, sticklebutts.
And a lot of people are like, well, you call puppets Muppets and you say Muppets are puppets or whatever. It's all very gray matter, and I'm not talking about brain cells here. So this week we're going to talk about, in episode 3, the difference between Muppet and puppet. And keep in mind, I'm not an expert on these things, right?
But you're impassioned. You
I'm
have passion.
impassioned. There are lots of people that think there's a definitive difference between a Muppet and a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
I say we can't call it. We'll look at the different sides and what people seem to think, and then maybe you'll come to a conclusion.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's more important that she comes to a conclusion, because she probably wants to know who she is.
Well, she doesn't come to a conclusion. She's always pretty open. So, James, do you know where the term Muppet comes from?
Yes. It's a combination of the term Pruppet, which is the thing from Pirates of the Caribbean that the guy calls Keira Knightley, and then also the term mop, because Jim Henson was a janitor before he made Kermit.
That's absolutely true.
Okay, well there you go.
That is the correct version of events. However, if you look into the written history of the Muppets,
Yeah, the unofficial.
The unofficial history, Jim Henson coined the term Muppet. The janitor Jim Henson, as we know him.
Not the pirate from Pirates
Not
of the
the
Caribbean.
pirate Jim Henson.
Okay.
But it was a combination of puppet and marionette. Puppet and marionette.
Marionette, of course. Got it.
When we were in Paris, we watched a marionette show.
Oh yeah, we did.
And it was like on
a bridge.
The banks of the Seine.
It was the Frenchest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, marionettes are controlled by strings, obviously.
But there are no strings on me.
I was gonna do an Age of Ultron, there are no strings on me thing.
You beat her to it. Nice work.
Okay, alright, I'm gonna take this back.
No, stop.
Can you... So, but Jim Henson said that he just liked the sound of it.
Yeah, it's got a good ring to it.
Combining terms that involved puppets and the art, so he just thought he liked the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like even he didn't say this is what a Muppet is, and compared to a puppet, he just coined this term that was the term that covered his creations, right?
Yeah.
So when I think of like Muppets and puppets, I sometimes think it just all comes down to semantics. Like whoever thinks what means what. There's the saying that all Muppets are puppets, but not all puppets are Muppets.
Yeah,
Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that?
I've heard it, but she's never heard it. Who, by the way, I think her name should be Sam Antics.
You don't get... It's a great name.
What do you think about that, Sam? I like it.
Okay, you're getting a little too brave on this show. You're getting a little too brave.
She's just coming out of her shell.
You need to come out of her shell.
No, she's fine. She won't say anything else, alright? She's done. She's gonna...
Put the hand over the mouth.
She's gonna... Zip.
Oh, it's delightful. There are tons of puppets, but not all of them can be classified as now Disney's Muppets.
Uh-huh.
When we think of Muppets, we kind of know what they are in terms of appearance and operation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we look at her, she's got a very like large mouth, large eyes. Usually Muppets have like very bulbous, protruding eyes. Sometimes she's got but Muppets are very cartoonish in their features, right? But so it's like okay, well if all Muppets are puppets, but all puppets are Muppets, I mean it's losing all meaning to me right now.
What does that make me?
Well, you're a puppet, but a different kind.
There are no strings on me.
Stop that. Traditionally, a puppet involves something that you stick your hand into it and you operate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of like so, almost like a Muppet. But then there are different Muppets that fall under the Muppet brand, like Sweetums. You know Sweetums?
Is Sweetums the big one?
He's the
big
big
bodysuit?
hairy guy
Yeah,
from the original Muppet movie.
Yeah.
And he's a guy in a costume, right?
No.
I hate to break it to you, but he is.
What?
No. And then in Big Bird, also a person in a costume. Snuffy, 2 people in a costume, right? So they're not traditionally what we think of a puppet, right? They're just a guy in a costume. But I would argue that you could say that even though they're just guys in costumes, they have aspects of puppets because they have moving eyes and they have, you know, parts that you would move on a puppet, right? And a defining factor of a Muppet as opposed to a puppet is that you'll always see a Muppet independent of its operator. Other than behind the scenes stuff, I don't know if you can really think of a time where you've seen a puppeteer in a Muppet.
Not in,
No.
yeah, no.
You don't
Well,
see it.
we've seen like Jim Henson with Kermit, but it's not like Jim Henson sitting controlling Kermit at the same
You can see
time.
him doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
But whereas a puppeteer, you might see them with their puppet. A ventriloquist, you'll see with their dummy.
Yeah.
Muppets, you don't see the operator. And back to aesthetics for a second. You know, there are materials that are used when making Muppets that like you're not going to see like a wooden Muppet really. They're made of very soft like foam, felt, fur.
Yeah.
Really soft fabrics, but it's such a gray, fuzzy subject, and it just breaks my brain because I'll tell you at the end what I ultimately think, and maybe you can tell me what you think makes a Muppet too.
I will.
But I guess the easiest way we could come down on what is a Muppet and what's a puppet is trademark. The Muppets is a trademark brand. It's owned by Disney.
Yeah.
So whatever Disney says is a Muppet, I guess that's a Muppet, right?
I guess so.
For example, this is a Muppet from the FAO Schwartz. Let me fix your tie here. No, stop it. This is a Muppet from the FAO Schwartz Muppet Whatnot Workshop.
Yes.
So it's a Muppet branded Whatnot, right? So we could say that yes, it is trademarked under their creation. It is a Muppet, right?
Yes.
Riot Rogers again made me this wonderful Elyse Muppet, which it's like yes, it looks like a Muppet, has all the defining characteristics. I would say how to make a Muppet, that cartoonish look, the protruding eyes, the giant mouth, this whole look, but it's not really a Muppet. This is kind of the philosophical question. It's such a philosophical question. What makes a Muppet?
Sounds like it's more of a business question.
It is. It is. But also some people that think that they are like elite puppeteers are like, well, I can tell you what a Muppet is. I can tell you what a puppet is. I know there's a difference. Like I don't think that there's any person. Jim Henson never said like there's a definitive difference. And then the whole thing gets even more confusing because there are creatures.
Like, what do you mean?
You're aware of, so there are different brands, right? There's the Muppet Workshop,
Yeah.
which is in New York City.
Okay.
There's Jim Henson's Creature Shop, which is in London. And there's a Sesame Workshop, right?
Okay.
There are all these brands, like, Muppets are owned by Disney, as we all know. The Jim Henson Company is still its own entity, and that's the Creature Shop. And then the Sesame is still owned by the Sesame Workshop, right?
So stuff like the difference between Kermit the Frog or the things from Dark Crystal.
Exactly.
They're
so,
not
like,
Muppets. They're creatures.
They're considered creatures, and like Farscape, where the wild things are, and then even like the Creature Workshop designed Dead Mouse the helmet.
They're more about construction of interesting things. And
Well, when they think about creatures, they're thinking more along the lines of like not necessarily the cartoonish look of like say a Muppet. But like more realistic. Like if you watch The Dark Crystal, that shit is like
creepy.
Like the Skeksis aren't cartoonish. They're a fictional creature, but they're made to look like a very realistic version of that fictional creature. Why is she turning toward me?
She's listening.
You cannot imbue her with personality at this moment in time. How would you like it?
Well, it doesn't matter whether you cover me, because she can still talk.
No. Try it.
She can still say things.
No, it's muffled. It's not. So there are some people out there that think that, and this kind of sounds crazy, but some people think that where a Muppet puppet is made defines what it is.
Okay.
So some people think that if it's made in the Muppet Workshop, then it's a Muppet.
Yeah.
some people think if it's made in Jim Henson's Creature Shop in London, it's a creature.
Okay.
But the truth is that there are characters that fit both descriptions that get made in each workshop. And it's only the psychopaths that are like, well, no, this was made in the Muppet Workshop, so ergo it's a Muppet.
Maybe they're not psychopaths. Maybe they're just as passionate as you are.
I don't think it matters. Okay, take for example the Nintendo Muppets from last E3, right?
Yeah.
We could call them Muppets,
Yeah.
but
Where were they made?
I don't actually know. I think
They look pretty legitimate.
they're Jim Henson Muppets for sure.
So then,
Yeah, but it's like, are they more creatures because they look realistic? Like it's a whole crazy thing. It's such a gray area, and I mean you can delve more into it, and I'm sure if you look it up on the internet, everybody says this is what a Muppet is, this is what a puppet is, this is the difference. But you won't find a lot of that coming from the official sources, which to me says don't listen to kooks on the internet.
well, it seems to me as though like when you start a company and then the goal of the company is to like make fun-loving things and teach children and then provide like lighthearted joy to those around the world,
You're not fixated on
maybe you aren't
Yeah.
going to fixate so much. I mean, it was smart of Jim Henson to, from a business point of view, say, I'm going to create a brand, you know, like I'm going to create a brand and then do that. But from there, it's, you know, I always say, what would Kermit say? Kermit wouldn't exclude anyone. He wouldn't exclude anyone. He'd never do that, would he? Would Kermit come up to Sam and say,
Her name's not Sam.
maybe your name's Sam. What do you think about the name Sam?
Even she's not crazy about it.
Well, she doesn't want to disappoint you.
Well, you make it sound like she doesn't care what I think.
She doesn't.
To me, the Muppets are not where they're made or trademarks or, you know, to me the Muppets are a symbol, right? They're a spirit. It's a personality and a kind of humor and like a love that we can identify, and you can kind of look at a Muppet and be like, you can look at a Muppet and like you can tell, right? And I mean, obviously, like, yes, Disney has their trademark. We should not. I don't want to get sued. But to me, like,
go on. You gotta stay focused. You gotta stay focused on what you're trying to talk about. I'm doing comic relief here.
I'm cutting it, so it's not gonna matter.
I know, but I'm trying to do comic relief, so you can't get distracted if your Muppets are going around doing stuff. That's the whole point. Right? That's the whole point.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
She's trying to hug.
She was grabbing my boob.
No, she got her own.
Does she? I think some of the flaws with certain Muppets properties that we've kind of seen in recent years are that they are sort of losing the spirit. The writing of the Muppets has always been pretty indicative of what the Muppets are like. They do a lot of puns, and I was gonna do an episode purely on like the writing of the Muppets.
Some of their names are even puns.
Well, none in this room. Not the. Are you pointing at her like, yes, that is me?
I'm not doing anything. I can't help what she does. You know.
Anyway, James, what do you think a Muppet is?
I think a Muppet is whatever you want it to be. It's a Muppet is a felt, soft little thing that like has big mouth and is fun and loves things.
You're just looking
but
at my notes.
Muppet is also a rat skating with butter on his feet. Like a Muppet is also a giant man in a suit running around. A Muppet can be a drummer. A Muppet can be a singer. A Muppet can be a frog. A Muppet can be anything.
Frogs and birds and chickens and more frogs and birds and chickens.
Muppets are all about inclusion.
Yes.
And getting as many people included as possible.
That's absolutely true.
So,
And,
if you want to exclude a Muppet, then you might not be a Muppet. I'd rather
That's
be a
true.
Muppet.
You
personally.
are. Trust me, you are.
Who's got a hand on me? There are no strings on me.
Oh boy. Like I said, I think it's a gray area, and maybe we'll never know.
Well, but what does it matter? Point is, it doesn't matter.
Well, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Let's try that high five again. Ready?
Right? 1. Wait, are we doing a high five? Wait, are we high five or are we shaking?
What do you mean? We'll shake.
Shake hands?
We'll shake.
So give me the other hand. Alright, ready?
Okay, try to do slowly.
Hey, don't give me a kiss.
What? No!